All right, grammar fans. So today, let's talk about something that
Oh, yeah.
a real brain bender in English grammar.
It's a good one.
The past simple versus the present perfect.
Yeah, they're tricky.
It's one of those things that I think a lot of English learners really kind of scratch their heads about,
It's so nuanced.
but have no fear.
Right.
Because on this deep dive, we are going to equip you with the knowledge to
Absolutely.
use these tenses like a pro.
And I think what's really cool about these two tenses in particular is how much they can change the way that you express yourself in English.
Totally.
Subtly, just by using one or the other.
Yeah, and we've got a treasure trove of sources today. We've got
Yeah.
videos, articles, all kinds of things to kind of pick apart. And really,
Yeah.
our mission here is to decode the mysteries
Yes.
of the past simple and the present perfect.
I love it.
So you can walk away with those aha moments.
And you will.
Yeah, and really have it click.
I guarantee you, by the end of this, you will understand it so much better than you did before.
That's a promise.
Promise.
Okay, so to kick things off, let's imagine you're at a party and someone asks you about your experience with spicy food, right?
Okay.
You could say, oh, I tried that ghost pepper sauce once, never again.
Right.
That's your past. Simple, neatly tucking away that experience in the past.
Exactly.
But if you're a little adventurous, you might say,
yeah.
I've tried that ghost pepper sauce 5 times. It's an addiction. That present perfect
Yeah.
suggests that maybe you're still game
Right.
for the heat, right? You're open to it.
You're still putting yourself in that situation.
Yeah, it's not a closed door.
Yes, exactly.
So that's a really good example of how, that same action can have
Yeah.
totally different vibes depending on how you're
Okay, got it.
expressing it.
And it just shows that it is so much more than just, is it finished or unfinished?
Right.
It's all of these other things that come into play when we talk about tense and aspect in English.
So how do we know when to use which one? When I'm ready to break out my grammar tool belt here.
I love that.
Yeah.
Let's bring the tools out. So our friend Arnell over on YouTube, I love this analogy. He uses the pyramid.
Okay.
And at the base of the pyramid, at the foundation, is the most basic difference, right?
Right.
Past simple for finished time, present perfect for unfinished time.
Okay, so far so good.
So far, so good.
But I have a feeling it gets a little trickier
It does get a little tricky.
as we climb that pyramid, right?
As we go up the pyramid, it gets more nuanced, as things in language tend to do. Let's start there
Let's do it.
with those foundations, because those are important.
Okay.
So we've got past simple for finished time, but I always think about it as like a snapshot in time.
Okay.
If you can pinpoint it on a calendar,
Okay.
then you're probably going to use past simple yesterday, last Tuesday.
Okay.
The year 2010, you're in past simple territory.
Right.
So I ate breakfast at 8 a.m. She graduated in 2022.
Right. It's like those actions are all like in a time capsule.
Yes, exactly.
So-
Sealed away.
Yeah.
Sealed off. They're done and dusted,
Yeah.
and now we're moving on with our lives.
Exactly.
Whereas present perfect is this bridge
Okay.
that stretches from the past into the present. It's for actions or events that started in the past, but are still relevant or ongoing now.
Okay, I'm starting to see that bridge analogy. Like
Right.
those past actions are casting a shadow
They are.
on the present.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
That's a good way to think about it.
So like you wouldn't say my grandfather has visited 10 countries last year.
Wow.
His traveling days are maybe over. So
We're assuming.
we would say my grandfather visited 10 countries in his lifetime.
In his lifetime, exactly.
But if you're talking about your friend who's, still an avid traveler,
Yeah,
you'd say my friend has been to 15 countries and counting.
in counting exactly.
So it's all about, is that past experience still part of
Yeah,
their present story?
yes.
Okay, I love that.
That's a really good way to put it.
And you know what really kind of brings this to life for me are those little words like for and since. They're like those little side characters in a movie that you don't think are important, and then it turns out they have the key to the whole plot.
They're small but mighty.
Yes.
Those ones.
Okay, so hit me with it.
Okay, so for
Yeah.
think about it as like a measuring tape.
Yeah.
A measuring tape for time.
Okay.
It tells us how long something has been happening.
Okay.
For 2 hours, for a decade, for however long this podcast is for. You get the idea.
Okay, so for equals duration.
Duration.
Got it.
Yes.
What about since?
Since,
That one always trips me up.
since is like a time machine.
Ooh.
It takes us back to a specific moment in the past.
Okay.
To a starting point.
Okay.
So we use since with a specific year, a date, or a specific event since 2005, since last summer. since I last ate a really good sandwich.
Since I had my last cup of coffee.
Exactly.
Okay, so for is how long.
Yeah.
And since is
From when?
from when. Okay.
Yeah.
So how do those fit into the puzzle of
Ooh, good question.
past simple versus present perfect?
Yes. This is where I think that bridge analogy for present perfect is really helpful.
I was hoping you'd say that because we're building a strong bridge.
We are. Yeah. No, we're not burning it down.
Okay,
They're
great.
going to walk across it.
Okay.
So when we use for with the present perfect, you're emphasizing the ongoing nature of that time period.
Okay.
So I've lived in London for 5 years. Means I'm still there. Those 5 years are still happening. You're on that bridge, looking back at the starting point 5 years ago, and you're still kind of moving forward in time.
And that bridge is leading us to right now.
Right now,
Just
exactly.
a moment.
To the present moment. And since with the present perfect, you're highlighting that starting point
Okay.
and the connection to the present moment.
Okay.
So, for example, I've been a vegetarian since 2015.
Okay.
2015 was that turning point,
Yeah.
that catalyst for your current lifestyle choice.
It changed everything.
Exactly. And it's still true.
Right.
Now, but here's the thing, and this is where English gets a bit tricky.
Okay.
You can actually use since with past simple.
Wait a minute.
I know, right?
I thought since was present perfect.
I know we'll do.
Well,
It usually
It
is.
usually is.
It usually is. But this is that one time
Okay.
where they're not hanging out.
Okay.
So you can use since with past simple if you're just simply establishing a starting point for a story or like a chain of events in the past.
Okay.
And the key here is that the focus is not on the present at all.
Right.
The focus is entirely on that past event.
Okay, so give me an example because I need to wrap my head around this.
Okay, so let's say you're telling a friend about how you met your partner, right?
Okay.
And you say, okay, so we met at a party 5 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I'd been single for ages since my last relationship had ended badly,
Okay.
right?
So you're using since to say that was the end
That was the end.
of that relationship.
Yes, and it's past perfect there as well, right?
Mhm.
Because it's that past before the past.
Exactly.
But it's still past simple because the whole focus is on that event of that relationship ending and not on your current relationship.
Gotcha. So it's like since is making a cameo
Exactly.
in the past.
Exactly.
Wow.
It's a quick cameo. It doesn't overstay its welcome.
Love it.
And that's the beauty of language, right?
It is.
All these little exceptions.
Yeah, we love a good plot twist.
Yes, exactly.
You know what else I thought was really interesting?
What's that?
Not every language has a direct equivalent to the present perfect.
I know. Isn't that interesting?
Could you imagine trying to learn English
Wow.
without that bridge?
It makes it so difficult. And it makes me, as a teacher, think about all these different things that we take for granted in our own languages.
Right.
That we just do naturally.
Right.
And we don't even realize how difficult they are.
Yeah, so it's not just about, memorizing rules. It's about really
It's about a feeling
understanding the bigger picture.
and understanding those connections between time
Yes.
and how we see an event.
It colors our whole perception
It does.
of what we're
I thought-
talking about.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so speaking of the bigger picture,
Yes.
this is what I'm going to call like the aha moment of the present perfect.
Okay, let's have it.
It's not just about unfinished time, right?
Right.
It's about how sometimes those past actions
Yes.
have this ripple effect
Yes.
that we can still feel now
100%.
in the present.
Absolutely.
So give me some ripples.
Okay, so let's say you want to explain why you're tired.
Okay.
You could just say, oh, I didn't sleep well last night, past simple, done.
Yep.
But if you want to emphasize how that lack of sleep is affecting you right now,
Yeah. Yes.
you would say, oof, I haven't had my coffee yet. I'm running on fumes because I haven't slept well all week.
Okay.
Right.
It's like those past actions are echoing into the present.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And this could be true for really big events as well. Think about Arnell's news snippets.
Oh, yeah.
New COVID restrictions have complicated plans to reopen air travel.
Yeah.
So that's a past action, the implementing of those restrictions. But those consequences are still happening now.
Right. It's a chain reaction.
Exactly.
Like one thing leads to another.
Yes. And present perfect allows us to make those connections.
It really does.
And it's not just about big events. It can be true for things in our everyday lives.
Give me an example.
So imagine you walk into a break room at work and your colleague is there and they're like, I'm starving. I haven't had time to eat lunch yet.
Okay.
So them not eating lunch is having a direct impact on them now.
Right. And they're using the present perfect to express it.
And the present perfect allows them to do that in a way that simple past doesn't quite do.
It's like a secret weapon
It is.
that we didn't know we had.
It's the secret weapon of English grammar.
This is blowing my mind. I never thought I would be this excited
You know,
about grammar.
I love it.
It's true.
I think we should all be this excited about grammar.
I'm starting to see it.
Yeah.
It's not just about being right or wrong. It's about having the right tool
Exactly.
for the job.
100%.
And the present perfect is a very versatile tool.
We can use it to highlight ongoing situations.
Yeah.
We can use it to emphasize those life experiences. And like you said, it even helps us reveal our feelings
Totally.
about these past events and how they still affect us.
This is way more interesting than I even thought it would be. You know, one thing I was thinking about when we were prepping for this,
Yeah.
I was reading that, Americans and Brits sometimes use these tenses a little differently.
But yes, and that's what I love so much about English,
Yeah,
is that even within this one language, we have variation,
right.
which I think just makes it all the more interesting.
Totally.
Because we can't just learn one rule and apply it all the time.
Right. It's not that simple.
Because depending on who you're talking to, they might use it slightly differently.
It's like we're both speaking English, but with different accents.
Yes, exactly, 100%.
Give me an example.
Okay, so for example, let's say you hurt yourself,
Oh, okay.
and you want to talk about that, and you say, I hurt my knee last week.
Okay.
So you're using past simple there, but maybe it still hurts.
Right.
But a British person might say, I've hurt my knee,
Okay.
using present perfect to emphasize that it's still kind of relevant
Interesting.
to now.
Okay.
So it's a very subtle distinction.
It is.
But it just highlights that it's not just about time, it's also about how we're choosing to portray events.
Totally. And like where we're coming from.
Yes, exactly.
Culturally even.
100%.
This is really making me realize that grammar is so much more
Yes.
than just a bunch of rules.
It's a living, breathing thing.
It really is.
It changes, it evolves just like people do.
It's like this secret code that
Yeah.
we're all trying to... Yes.
100%. And I think the more we learn about this code, the better we become at communicating.
Right.
Because then we understand all those subtle nuances.
Yes.
And we can really make sure that we're getting our meaning across in the way that we intend it.
I love that. I'm feeling very fluent all of a sudden.
Good.
I love that.
Yes, embrace it.
It's not about being perfect, right? It's just about
No,
being able to
just getting your meaning across.
get your point across.
Exactly. And doing it in a way that feels authentic to you.
Yeah. And, the next time I'm like really like, past simple or present perfect, I'm going to think about,
Good.
it's not about right or wrong.
Yeah.
It's about what am I trying to
Yeah.
say here?
What's your perspective?
Exactly.
What are you trying to emphasize?
Yeah. And what tool do I need for this job?
Exactly.
Mm.
And play with it. Have fun with it, because the more you play with it in real life, the better you'll get at it,
I love it. Practice makes perfect.
as they say.
They do. Well, we covered a lot of ground today.
We did.
From the, the very basics of like
Basics.
past simple and present perfect.
Yeah.
All the way to, kind of those like
To the nuances.
moments of
Yes.
those connections
I
between
love it.
the past and the present.
And you know what I think we should do is we should challenge our listeners
Yes. Let's do it.
to think about, how have you used the present perfect in a way that was really impactful or meaningful for you?